A joint media interview with the country's second-in-command 50 days after he took over power at the Deputy President's office. We're talking about Kithure Kindiki. Now the second-in-command has been put to task to explain his role in the previous docket that he held, and that is the Ministry of Interior, which was marred by the rise of police brutality and abduction cases in the country, especially during the Gen Z protest. The former Interior CS, who is now the second-in-command in the country, says he did not order or rather issue the shoot to kill particular order that led to lives lost, especially during that particular period. We have that and much more on the program tonight. This is K24 Evening Edition, but first, top stories tonight.
President Ruto nominates Kipchumba Murkomen as the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, while former Health CS Mutahi Kagwe makes a comeback as CS nominee for Agriculture in Cabinet changes.
Wanasema watapitisha sheria kwamba ambaye anakuwa rais aapishwe baada ya masaa 24.
Opposition leaders led by Kalonzo Musyoka criticized the Assumption of Office Presidential Bill 2024 as they claim that it aims at triggering the 2027 general elections while deepening public mistrust in the process. The government warns non-profit organizations against misusing donor funds for illegal activities, including terrorism financing. Patients at the Nyeri Referral Hospital are left stranded after failure of the shift system, sparking frustration and calls for the return of NHIF.
All right, remember you can be part of the program by engaging us on our socials. At Amoy Brian, that is on X, at K24 across social media platforms, that is Facebook and also YouTube. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program tonight. Our sign language interpreter is Walter Asewe. Let's begin. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has defended the use of legal force by police, stating that it can be applied when officers' life is at risk. Now, speaking during a joint press briefing this evening, the DP denied issuing a shoot-to-kill order and rejected responsibility for the death of 60 individuals, clarifying that the Ministry of Interior, not his office, oversees police operations.
Police operations, especially in engaging protesters or people who are seen as breaching the peace, is the province for the independent command of the National Inspector General of the National Police Service. As far as I'm concerned, the 2 years I have been the country's Interior Minister, every single day of them, when I woke up to do my work, to make sure that the security organs of our country that protect our country from threats, security threats, perform their work, and should they require any policy guidance, that guidance is provided. And that's all what I can say, and I said it. And they say is this, that police officers are allowed to use force, including lethal force, in exceptional circumstances. Should any officer violate the strict parameters of those circumstances, they are accountable under the law. And we say it many times, not once, not even in the context of the protest alone, but also in the context of the fight against terror and the fight against banditry and other organized crime. That any police officer who uses their firearm lawfully within the Constitution, including lethal force, has legal protection. But so any of them who exceeds the parameters of the Constitution is on their own, and the organs of accountability is not the Interior Minister.
All right, now Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has this evening overseen the signing of an agreement between doctors and the Ministry of Health that will now see the nationwide strike initially set for December 22nd, 2024 effectively called off. Now, the agreement, which was also signed by the Council of Governors, will see intern doctors paid a salary of $206,000 in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement signed between the government and the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union (KMPDU) in 2017. Now, KMPDU, led by Secretary General, that is Dr. Davji Atela, also noted that it was agreed during the meeting that the basic salary arrears will be paid.
And the collective bargaining agreement signed in 2017 to 2021 has not been bastardized, but has been protected and sanctified. And in today's agreement, the interns doctors can actually check their pay slips tomorrow on Saturday, and they'll see the confirmations that they'll be getting their full salaries. This is an appreciation and a commitment that we've seen today, and we believe that we don't always have to progress on industrial actions before issues are resolved, and that's why we appreciate the commitment. And I want to advise our doctors all across the counties to start checking their pay slips, checking the banks, because this has been paid through a voucher system on these particular monies. Otherwise, we appreciate the commitment, and we believe that when you work together with government, when you work together with our employers, we will always have these issues resolved, and discussion continues far beyond the industrial action time.
We want to assure KPMDU that the remaining parts of any agreement, including the adjustments that we said we'll push to 2025-26, will be adhered to, will be achieved, and that we will, as COG, do our best to avoid another industrial action that puts our health sector into disarray.
We are very pleased to announce to the nation that the strike, which had been called by the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, has been called off as a result of very, very intense negotiations that have been carried out in the last few days behind the scenes in the spirit of confidence building and utmost good faith. In that vein, I would like to thank the union. I want to thank the Council of Governors, and I also want to thank the Ministry of Health for facing this matter patriotically and in the interest of the country. And therefore, even as the country goes into the festive season, we are glad that we can now sigh with relief that our hospitals, our public hospitals, will be operating, because our doctors are going to continue providing health services, which is their calling.
All right, now let's take a look at some of the changes that have happened today as far as the cabinet is concerned. And of course, President William Ruto did make changes in the cabinet, and effective immediately nominating Kipchumba Murkomen, that is the cabinet secretary for sports currently, to be the interior cabinet secretary. Of course, Murkomen initially held the sports docket, and before that he was the cabinet secretary for transport. And of course, also making a comeback when it comes to matters nominations and cabinet appointments is former cabinet secretary, that is Mutahi Kagwe, who was in the previous administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, Mutahi Kagwe initially was the cabinet secretary for health, and now he's been nominated to lead the agriculture docket. Lee Kinyanjui comes back as the CS Trade, and of course, he's the former governor of Nakuru County. And of course, these are just some of the names that have been making a comeback when it comes to nomination in the cabinet. And of course, we also have former Kiambu governor, that is William Kafogo, who has made a comeback in the cabinet as cabinet secretary for ICT. We also have Salim Vuria, who is now the sports cabinet secretary at the moment. I beg your pardon. And of course, just a recap of that, Kipchumba Murkomen is now the interior cabinet secretary. And of course, this particular docket was being held by the now deputy president Kithure Kindiki before he was actually promoted to that particular position, and it remained vacant. And now it has been filled by Kipchumba Murkomen. And apart from that, Kipchumba Murkomen was also the sports cabinet secretary, and initially was was the Transport Cabinet Secretary before the changes that were made. Now, Ababu Namwamba is now the Kenya's permanent representative to UNEP, and Margaret Nyambura Ndungu now is Kenya's High Commissioner to Ghana. Ambassador Dorothy Angote is now Kenya's High Commission in Zimbabwe. Diritu Muridhi appointed chairperson of KRA board, and Anthony Mwaura board chair Kera. These are the latest when it comes to changes as far as the cabinet is concerned. All right, away from that, opposition leaders have strongly criticized the assumption of office of President William Ruto and transition of Executive Authority Bill 2024, alleging that it is an ill-intentioned scheme designed to influence and rig the 2027 presidential election. They claim the proposed legislation undermines democratic principles and poses a threat to free and fair election processes in the country. Now, led by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, the leaders also revealed the intention of forming a unified front to oust the current government.
The arrival of the four opposition leaders, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, DAP-K leader Eugene Wamalwa, Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, and former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu in Runyenjes, Embu County, marked the beginning of a strategic political alliance aimed at unseating President William Ruto in the 2027 elections. The leaders urged Kenyans to join hands and oppose any attempt by Ruto-led government to change constitution without following the due processes led by the constitution.
Wangapi wanasema hatutaki katiba ibadilishwe kiholela? Wangapi wanasema hiyo?
Addressing a public rally at Karurumo Market following a burial ceremony, the leaders described the assumption of office of the president and transition of Executive Authority Bill 2024 as dangerous and mischievous. They warned that the proposals are likely to fuel public suspicion regarding the credibility of the presidential election results, particularly at a time when Kenyans have expressed their waning trust in Kenya Kwanza government.
Ati wanasema watapitisha sheria kwamba ambaye anakuwa rais aapishwe baada ya masaa 24, na katiba inasema ni lazima kuwe na kipindi cha miezi, I think siku 14 kwa mfano. Kama kuna mtu mlalamisha anaenda kwa mahakama kuu, alafu akimaliziwa hiyo, ndio yule ambaye amechaguliwa anaweza sasa kulingana na uamuzi wa mahakama anaapishwa kama rais wa jamhuri.
The leaders declared their unwavering support for former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, signaling a united front in their bid to challenge the current administration.
Leo tuwasema aliyekuwa naibu wa rais Gachagua ameungana na upinzani, Kalonzo Wamalwa na hii team, tunaambia Ruto tsunami inakuja.
Mambo ya Ruto kwenda nyumbani, Wakenya wote kila pembe ya Kenya hii wamekubali. Sisi wakaaji wa mlima pande hii tunasema ya kwamba kwa ile serikali ambayo inakuja tunataka one man, one vote, one sharing.
The leaders criticized the Kenya Kwanza government, citing systemic failures, rampant graft, and poor governance as key issues plaguing the administration.
Elimu disaster, health disaster, kila kitu disaster. Lazima Ruto aende nyumbani.
Further, the leaders stated that Kenyans should not be compelled to do anything they are uncomfortable with, referring to the ongoing heated debate on livestock vaccination that is set to kick off in January 2025.
Sisi hatuna shida na chanjo ya futa mbao. Hatuna shida na chanjo ya Rinderpex, ugonjwa wa ng'ombe wa kawaida. Lakini ile tuna shida nayo ni wazungu wakuje hapa watuambia tutuchanje ng'ombe zetu ziache kunyamba.
This development comes on the heels of the president's stern remarks against those opposing vaccination efforts. Eunice Omolo, K24 TV.
All right, that story by Eunice Omolo takes us to our first break here on K24 Evening Edition. Continue engaging us on our socials at K24 across social media platforms, and we'll be sampling your feedback as we continue the program tonight. We take a break. We will be back in a few.
ya mapateme ya bolingo natie maboko na moto
natini bolingo ta elali selio miso ekoki olelisa kaka miswango lisusu naleli na barbara
nayemba na lombo makiari franco ayemisaka nga makambo ezali minene olukaka makambo lokole gomelio supporte ozuwaki bangagement lokole gomelio assume molambi ya fufu atalaka mai na fufu ya poussière ekizima yozali nteba.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. A dynamic, lively, inspiring, and informative program which is hosted by Muyiwa Olarewaju.
God has validated you, has empowered you, and all you have to do is surrender.
It focuses on critical global social issues and powerful testimonies.
I lay there bleeding, potentially going to see Jesus. I called on him because I realized at 9 years old that I could.
While offering uplifting music from indigenous and international artists.